Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us, joining the podcast Japan Expert Insights. Today, again, we have Madeleine Olausson, and she has been with us before. Probably some of you already know that. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome her once again because today the topic is going to be different from the episode we did a couple of weeks ago. Today, we're going to talk about marketing and different perspectives of marketing, depending on how marketing is done in Japan, of course, overseas, how goods are marketed in Japan and overseas, and what the differences are from Madeleine's observations. She has been living in the United Kingdom for quite a while. But before we dive into the conversation, so Madeleine, I would like to invite you to introduce yourself to us once again because some of our listeners probably haven't watched the first episode. So please.
Thank you very much, Maya, and thank you very much for having me again. Yeah, so I'm Madeleine. I'm originally from Sweden, but have lived in the UK for a very long time. I have also spent some time in Japan. And my background is primarily in B2B marketing, and I work with companies on a global basis. Because I'm based in the UK, I've currently got a bit of a UK focus, but also always keep my passion for Japan alive and do as many projects related to Japan as I can.
Right. And that's how we met actually, because we both work with Japan and for Japan, and also with people actually who are related to Japan, with Japan to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, yes,
So,
of course.
yes, that's how we got connected on LinkedIn, and then we met here in Tokyo. And yeah, I'm just happy that we were able to meet in person a couple of
Yeah,
times already, and looking forward to the next opportunities as well. And
yes,
to
me too.
everybody, thank you. To everybody watching us, this is a recorded session because we're trying to reconcile the time difference between Japan and United Kingdom. So please be aware that it's not a live session. And if you have any questions or thoughts, please share them in the comments, and we can go back to the comments on the day of uh, publishing this episode, and we can reply to the comments there. So, and well, Madeleine, you have, as you mentioned, you have been living in the Kingdom for quite a while, but you also have experience with Japan, right? So,
Yeah.
and yes, I would like you to tell us a little bit about that experience, and also, well, some very probably general differences between Japan and United Kingdom, and maybe also Sweden, because you were born and grew up in Sweden, and you still work with the Swedish market. I
Yes, a
think,
little
right?
bit, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, well, from a marketing point of view, of course, a lot of things have changed
Mm-hmm.
since I grew up in Sweden and moving to the UK, and then you have certain shifts happening in the industry. And of course, the most recent one being AI, which is having an impact on marketing all over
Mm-hmm.
and in very different aspects. But if going back to talking about differences between the markets, of course, one of the main differences is the channels that are being used. That's a very concrete difference. So you have channels being used in Japan like Line that we don't even have in the UK or Sweden, for instance. The equivalent would probably be WhatsApp, but that's not used at all for marketing.
Right.
And of course, looking at Facebook, which is also used in a rather different way in Japan than being the personal update tool it's used as in Europe. So those are some very concrete differences, and that's sort of really talking about the marketing communications activities per se, because of course marketing is much bigger than just the
Yes.
final communication activities. And I'm almost doing right now what I complain about many companies doing when you talk about marketing is that rather than looking at the big strategic picture, they jump straight into the tactics.
Right.
But it is a very concrete difference just in how some channels and tools are used compared to Europe.
Indeed, I was surprised actually because you mentioned Facebook, right? And you mentioned Instagram, and they're used in different ways in Europe and in Japan. But also, my thought jumped to LinkedIn as well because you and
Mm,
I were on LinkedIn first and we connected there. And I have noticed something very interesting that LinkedIn again is used in a different way in Japan and other parts of the world. And a very recent trend, maybe it's been like a year old or so,
mhm,
is that in Japan, LinkedIn, yes, Japanese people use LinkedIn. Of course, they say it's for job searching, right? And
mm.
recruiting and everything. But also, in order to draw more Japanese users, I believe, to LinkedIn, to the platform, they have started creating clubs.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Yes, so I know that because I have been invited to a couple of clubs, and one of them is, of course, it is called a Green Finger Club. And
Oh,
this,
okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
it is very similar to Facebook groups and
Hmm.
their interest groups, right? And I have also seen a couple of other clubs set up and managed by Japanese users of LinkedIn. One of them is Coffee Morning Coffee Club or something like this.
Hmm.
And I thought that it was really interesting because many people would say, yes, Facebook, Instagram are the platforms for using, platforms for interests and hobbies, right?
Mm.
Not so much LinkedIn, but it is an interesting tactic because we jumped to tactics, right?
Mm. Yes.
More Japanese users to LinkedIn because many Japanese people hesitate using LinkedIn because they don't want to be perceived as if they're looking for a job while they're
Mm.
working for their employers, right?
Yes.
So it's really interesting and jumping from one platform to another. So maybe since we're into tactics,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
Uh, can you share some of your observations about the differences between, let's say, maybe Instagram or Facebook? I don't know of how
Mm.
they're
Well,
used.
I will say because I'm in primarily B2B marketing, I don't use Facebook or Instagram at all. That was purely an observation because Facebook
Okay.
is used much more in Japan and they're
Mhm.
actually used also in business compared to in the UK or Europe, for instance, where it's almost singularly used as personal updates and connection tool in a different way.
Right.
That there is some marketing happening in Facebook, but most people seem to be quite not really appreciating having advertising in their flows on Facebook,
Right. Yeah. I'm one of them.
unless it's for a local event or something that you might feel that is a bit relevant to you. But
Yeah.
just wanted to do one remark on LinkedIn, which I find is quite interesting because you didn't used to find Japanese people on LinkedIn, but
Mhm.
these days most Japanese people I meet in the UK, especially if they're slightly younger, they are all on LinkedIn, and sometimes you don't exchange business cards in the same way as you used to. It's oh, are you on LinkedIn? Let's connect. So it's but that might be because they're living in the UK and they might see it as a useful tool. But certainly, if, from a Japanese person you're meeting here, you very often get connected on LinkedIn straight away rather than just exchanging business cards.
Right. That's interesting because in Japan, business cards are still the king.
Mm,
Even I noticed the other day, I went to a networking event and it was, really eye opening to me because, well, to say first, all the Japanese people I connected with at the event, they had business cards. But also the foreign residents of Japan, the businessmen who work here, they also had their business cards.
Mm,
So we very diligently exchanged our business
yeah.
cards. And then from there, the next day, when we were in the office or at home,
Mm,
we went on LinkedIn. And I know that because I received connection requests from the
yes.
people I had business cards from, right?
Mm,
So I did the same, of course.
mm.
So it seems that paper here is still very, very much appreciated.
Mm, yes, and the last time I went to Japan, I think I had 500 business cards printed up, and I I think I used 200 of them. So it's yeah,
Right.
it's definitely very useful. But
Yes, yeah, it is interesting to see this and to observe the differences. And how is it in Sweden? Do people do well or approach LinkedIn in the same way as the people in the
mm,
UK? Or
yes,
they,
I would say so. It's very much a work tool, but you do see the odd more personal slant post as well. But it's certainly seen as a tool for professional connections and sharing of information and promoting yourself to a certain extent.
right, yes, because LinkedIn has become a very, very good tool, I believe, of well, for promoting businesses and also
Mm,
professionalism, let's say
yes,
expertise,
yes,
right?
definitely, and the world is open in a completely different way. Oh, I mean, like
Yeah.
15 years ago, you and I would probably never have met because
Mhm.
unless we would have happened to come across each other at an event in Tokyo. But of course, the initial connection was through LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
I sometimes reflect on that with so many people I've got to know over the last few years on LinkedIn that you then build a friendly relationship with.
Right. Yes. It's really great because I also think that during the pandemic, LinkedIn was very, very, even much more useful than now. But also some other social media platforms, like I would say in Japan, Clubhouse became very big
Mm,
during the
yes,
pandemic, right? Because
yes.
people needed connection. And
Mm, and
everybody, most everybody suddenly, just got on Clubhouse and people
mm,
started in there.
yeah, I love Clubhouse. It's
Yes?
and that's another tool that is. I don't think it may not be as popular as it was, but it's certainly much more popular in Japan than here. Because if I talk to someone in the UK or Sweden about Clubhouse, people
Yeah.
have barely heard of it, or they don't know what it is. But well, of course, my interests are skewed towards Japan. So, of course, I found a lot of Japanese contacts on Clubhouse, and there were some people I started talking to on a regular basis that I then met in person when I went to visit Japan. So, yeah, a great tool for again for connecting with people.
Indeed, I cannot agree more on that actually. But the interesting thing, since once again we're talking about marketing, the topic is marketing and social media platforms, applications, and so on. I think that Clubhouse lost the momentum because they didn't figure out how to draw businesses to
Mm,
promote else there, because I think that it is really a great tool for connecting with other people, with individuals. And of
mm,
course, those individuals, they promote their expertise, they sometimes promote the services their companies offer, but it's not really a tool where you can go and find information about business organizations, right?
no,
So,
not at all.
yeah,
And you can
yeah,
find groups pertinent to your own interests. Uh,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's very straightforward. But as you say, there's been no commercialization of it.
Mhm.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. But my next question then to you is, you mentioned in the beginning that you work in B2B marketing.
Mm.
Then what let's say what channels do you use when you work with clients? Because of course Facebook, Instagram, they are mostly B2C
Mm. Yeah.
tools.
Mm.
So,
and of course, it all depends on the particular company and where their
mhm,
target audience is. But very often, LinkedIn is actually used very much in B2B marketing, but also very much personal selling and participation at exhibitions and conferences and webinars, and that sort of personal contact in a different way. So exhibition and conferences, I would say, are the very big figure in B2B still, and especially after the pandemic, that people started meeting again and seeing each other in person and catching up.
yeah,
There's also still actually emails are used still. Email marketing is used very much in B2B.
hmm,
But
right,
I think ultimately the channel does very much also depend on the industry and where your customers are, because there's no point in using channels where your customers which your customers wouldn't use.
indeed, yes. I also thought during the pandemic, actually, because everybody was online back then, people needed connection.
Mm,
And regardless of whether they were online because of work or they were online because they were talking to friends and family, they were there most of the time.
mm,
And I thought that at that point of time during the pandemic, basically the border between B2B and B2C somehow became a kind of
a little
un-
blur, perhaps. Or,
blurred, yes,
mm,
because even though we tried back then to address businesses, we were trying to, of course, we were talking to people, right? People who were
mm,
working in those businesses, and we were trying to appeal to their emotions so that
mm,
basically we were trying to connect with them first on a very human level. And it was really a very interesting time because we did. Maybe because of people like you and me back then, basically the borders between B2C and B2B blurred. But do
mm,
you think that this trend continues, that it has become stronger or weaker after the end of the pandemic? What are your
mm.
observations?
I think the border has continued to be blurred. Actually, I'm not sure
Hmm.
if it has got stronger, but it certainly. I think in a way it always has been slightly blurred,
Hmm.
uh, because in the end you do sell to people,
Right.
even
Yes.
if, even if it's in B2B. Of course, the thing you sell is usually quite different, and in when you sell in B2B, of course, although you have to convince an individual, there's an organization buying or a company buying. So, and usually it's a longer sales cycle and often the purchase at a higher value than in B2C, or
Right.
most often. So there are, of course, some difference in the structure, but of course, you still have to convince.
The
Uh,
decision maker.
yeah, exactly. This the decision maker, and of course, in an organization, you also have different routines. You may have to ask for a tender from three different companies for a certain uh, project or something you need to buy if it's above a certain level in price.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm sure there's a lot of personal emotion that can sway a decision-making process also in a business context, just as it can in B2C.
Yeah. The other day I read an article about social media platforms and their evolution.
Hmm.
Because when they were created, let's take, for example, Facebook, but Instagram was very much the same. They were created for people to, first of all, to connect with family and friends
Hmm.
and also share their experiences. Well, that was the instant instant picture taking and sharing online and everything, so that people did feel connected and they could
Mm,
see their friends and what their family were doing at that exact moment. And then well, let's say Facebook, of course, Instagram as well, they realized that there is so much data which they can use there, so that
mm,
they started using the data to sell,
mm,
right? And when that happened in the beginning, the ads were not that many on those,
mm,
but recently we have seen well, a huge influx of ads on the platforms. And of course, on LinkedIn, there are also many ads that are B2B ads
mm,
again, right?
yeah.
And on Facebook, there are many B2C ads. On Instagram, it's the same B2C ads. And again, probably I'm seeing this only in Japan. But do you think that people will eventually move away from the platforms, from social media, because they have had enough of ads?
Uh, well, some people probably will do, but unless there is something else to transfer to, I don't think people will just up and go, because if you've been on Facebook or Instagram for quite some time, you have quite a history, you have connections. So unless you feel like, oh, I really don't want to be part of this tool any longer because they share so much, just show me adverts all the time, and you so strong belief in that, I think the obstacles, are sort of the barriers for exit are almost higher, because you want to keep your connections and access to all your other messages and all that before you start leaving. But
Right.
that's my thought process, of course.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to hear that, because it seems that I'm not the only one who thinks that, and
Mhm.
it's always reassuring to have at least one more person who is of the same opinion.
Yeah, so at least the two of us will stay on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah, yes. I mean, it's still the only one platform which really connects professionals on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yes, but I have also noticed in Japan that many of my connections here are not on LinkedIn as much as they used to be until a year ago. So the trend has moved, and people are trying to network in person,
Hmm.
particularly here in Japan. And I wonder, is this the case too in the Kingdom?
I think it's a combination.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I wouldn't say that anyone is perhaps less often on LinkedIn. You can see sometimes people saying, "Oh, I'm taking a break from LinkedIn for a month because I'm going on holiday or something," or I'm taking a break because I didn't want to keep updating my
Right.
profile and add details about me all the time, like they would need a digital detox or similar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more I see now and then in individuals saying, "Oh, I've been away," or and then sharing some rather emotional personal story. I had to take time off because my husband got cancer, or
Mm.
personal tragedy like that, and but saying, "Oh, no, I'm back again," kind of thing.
Right.
Sure, I've seen a trend yet, so that people are disappearing in droves, kind of thing.
Right. I think that LinkedIn published some data recently that the user base continues to expand.
Hmm.
So I believe that, well, it will be there for quite a while still. The platform itself is what
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, most definitely. And it is, after all, very useful. And I've, from a personal point of view, I've received several projects just from having my profile on LinkedIn. So
Right.
it's
Yes.
a, it's a good way for people to discover you and find that you exist.
Yes. So now, if you don't mind me asking a question which is going to redirect the conversation.
Not at all, not at all.
Yeah. So you come to Japan almost every year, I believe, because we met last year and
Yes,
then this year again.
yeah, not quite as often as I would like to, but yes, I
Yeah.
have been there every year of the last couple of years. Yes.
Yes. Right. So, and
Mm,
you were here, yeah, once again last year, and then this year also
yeah.
you worked with a company that presented at the Osaka Expo.
Mm,
And so, what are your impressions? Because I'm sure that some of the products that you see in the United Kingdom, Japanese products, let's say, are also here in Japan, of course, because they're Japanese.
mm,
But my question to you is how how do you see the difference between the product presence in the market in Japan and also in the UK and maybe in Sweden as well?
mm. Well, in I can't think of an example now where I can think of the same product being marketed by the same company
In the
in Japan and
Kit
Sweden. So, oh, Kit Kat, yeah, Kit Kat, of course.
Kat?
Of course, it's nowhere near as big in the
Right.
UK as in Japan. It's sort of in the UK. It's more one of all the chocolates, and of course, what they're missing out in the UK is that they don't offer any seasonal flavors. Or over the last few years, you can find a matcha Kit Kat, and I think I might have found strawberry Kit Kat as well, possibly, or I might mix it up with Japan. Because every time I go to Japan, I go and look at the Kit Kat flavors and then bring some home to my partner who loves chocolate and always finds it very interesting to try out some new flavors. Although the
Yeah.
matcha chocolate is still a very big favorite.
Yeah.
But,
It Yeah, no, it's interesting because this morning I had a conversation with a friend who lives and works in the United States, and she's Japanese, and she said, In this season, I miss the Tsukimi McDonald's, you
mm,
know, the Tsukimi
mm,
burger at McDonald's." And I was like, wow, that's true. Because for me personally, I have been here for over 24 years now. And these seasonal offerings, they come so very naturally. And I
mm,
very seldom realize that they are offered only in Japan.
mm,
So they're not available in other parts of the world. And even though, for example, McDonald's is native to the United States, they still don't go there with what they offer in Japan, right? So
yeah,
yeah, it's a good reminder what you just said about the matcha Kit Kat and the strawberry Kit Kat.
yeah.
How, yeah,
Yes, but it is quite interesting though, because I think it might have also been part of the tourism to Japan, that everyone's, or so many people have gone to Japan as tourists, that certainly Japanese food has increased a lot in popularity. So in the UK, for instance, you can see a lot of matcha biscuits and other companies producing matcha biscuits, not necessarily just the Japanese company, but you can find green tea flavored biscuits.
that's
And
nice.
and also, but sometimes it's a little bit. You can go to some of the food stores, and I saw some horrific cheese that try to incorporate matcha with cheese, and I don't think that really worked because the color looked horrific. It was actually green.
Oh no.
And then you get here a little bit, and then the brand it was made up. It was something I don't know. It was made in another European country, but the brand name was made to look a little bit Japanese, like a
I
Westerner
see.
would imagine a Japanese brand, and then borrowing matcha and incorporating it into cheese and making it like a Japanese product. But of course, it had nothing to do with Japan other than matcha
Right.
being used, or
Oh
some
no,
other
that's
green coloring.
fascinating. Right, the coloring. Matcha is a coloring, food coloring,
Mm,
right? No, it's interesting that too, because I remember, well, it's several years ago anyway, and so I meet my Japanese teacher maybe once in a couple of years. We go out for lunch, we talk a lot, and then during one of those lunches we had together, she said, Maya-san, have you tried natto with
Mm,
cheese?
hmm
And I'm like, no, I haven't. And she said, you have to try it. It's so delicious. It's just
hmm
something out of this world. And I'm like, thinking about cheese, I would rather have cheese on its own. And thinking about natto, I would have natto just with the karashi, that's the
hmm
mustard, and soy sauce there, right? And I had never ever actually thought of any other combinations because cheese and natto is a foreign combination to Japan, I believe,
Yes, yes.
right?
Mm,
But then I tried it and it was
hmm
quite good. So
hmm
you know that they sell the grated cheese here in all the
mm,
supermarkets, and
yes.
so natto with that grated cheese is a wonderful combination,
Okay.
together with the mustard and the
Mm,
soy sauce on top of it.
okay. So even more, a little bit of added salt.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether there is any natto first, whether you have been able to buy any natto or to see any natto in the United Kingdom, maybe in Sweden, because you mentioned that Japanese food has become popular. I know that
Mm,
natto is kind of difficult,
yes.
right? I mean, for
Mm,
people to get to like it, but
yes.
still, it's a healthy food, right?
Yes.
It
And
contains,
also being fermented, it's all very popular and
yeah.
like where food is talked as more beneficial and it'll help extend your life by another 10 years or something if you eat fermented food.
Well,
That,
okay. Do we have any empirical data on that,
no,
or?
no, no, not at all. No, but it's one of these statements that some foods are so healthy for you, and then it becomes very popular and it gets promoted. And for a while, fermented food has been talked about very popular. It's in kimchi
Yes.
and Korean, of course, but then natto would come into the same
Yeah. May I say
category.
that?
But of course, absolutely no empirical data. But yeah.
May I say that's marketing for you,
Mm,
right?
exactly, exactly, exactly. Very good marketing and very emotional.
Very emotional too,
Yeah,
and smelly. It
yeah,
could be
yeah,
smelly too,
yeah, exactly. In more sense than one. Yeah,
right?
so coming back to your question, whether it exists in the UK, that there are, I haven't seen it in normal shops, but that there is a Japanese supermarket in London, a Japanese store that where I believe you can actually find natto.
Right. And
And, but I haven't seen it make a sort of a big sort of market splash anywhere else.
right. I see. Which is a pity, I would
Mm.
say,
But
because.
but it may well be the next big because
Mhm.
I know it's a bit of an acquired taste, but the fact that it's healthy can
Yeah.
usually make it start a trend. And matcha has also very much been promoted. I've seen it both in the UK and Sweden that it's promoted as part of its health
Right.
benefits.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes, they say, and I'm sure it's true because, of course, matcha contains a lot of antioxidants and a lot of substances that actually help your brain work better and
Mm.
so on. But at the same time, I wanted to ask you one thing. So, when those Japanese foods and drinks are promoted overseas in the UK and also in Sweden, let's say, so I'm sure that they use local marketing companies, right? Um,
Mm. They probably
and
do, yes. Mm.
yes, so my question is about your observations. So, what is the level of localization there of the
Um,
marketing?
mm. I think these days people want to keep this sort of Japanese angle and sort of a certain exoticism still. with this. But I think in the case of matcha, it's become so popular and used everywhere in all
Hmm.
sorts of contexts that it's almost become like it could almost be from anywhere. You don't notice any particular Japanese so much any longer in the marketing of matcha per se.
Oh, so you mean that it's something like is considered, I mean, like not so Japanese anymore. It's more
I
a
think it's
drink,
become so
common drink.
normal. It's become so widely used, but also in many other
Hmm.
many other flavorings and biscuits. And,
I see. Because to me personally, matcha is an acquired flavor as well. And
very
it's,
much so, very much so.
yeah, I remember before I came to Japan, when I tried matcha for the first time, I thought, well, smells of hay, right? And
Yeah,
only
it's
that is
certain
bitter
grass.
in taste. So what is the attraction? And of
Mm,
course, now I enjoy the taste. I love the flavor as well. But it took me a couple of years to
mm,
to get used to it and to finally start appreciating the bitterness and the color, the flavor, and everything.
yes,
So
and I think in the UK it's quite often paired, of course, with something sweet. So
I see.
you'll find in the
Right.
recipe you'll find a white chocolate matcha cake recipe kind of thing. So the matcha tea on itself, it's perhaps more for the connoisseurs. It's not so much for uh, your normal British tea drinker, unless it's someone who's been to Japan and got to learn how to like matcha tea.
Right, I see. That's, yeah, because that was my observation. I thought that things might have changed, but well,
Mm,
it's that they haven't changed that much, not yet, at
mm.
least.
No, but then I think also there's been a lot of there's been quite a lot of focus on Japan. There was a festival in Manchester lasting 4 or 5 days recently, and I saw that tea ceremony was on the agenda. There's a Japan festival this weekend on Sunday in London, so there's a lot of activities, and of course, people get more and more used to and seeing and encounter Japanese products,
Right.
authentic
So,
Japanese products, hopefully, rather than the fake matcha cheese from the supermarket.
which is sweetened, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I also remember when I was in Taiwan, for example, a lot of the tea they sell in their convenience stores, the drinks in pet
Mm,
bottles. They've, of course, they've got black tea, they've got green tea, but the green tea there is also sweetened.
mm.
Most of it, not all of it, but most
Yes.
of it is
You
sweetened.
get many of these sort of green tea with honey or some sugar,
Yeah, yeah,
something like that. Mm,
yeah, which was surprising to me because Taiwan also has a very long tradition and,
mm,
well, tea culture there, right?
mm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it's funny because I do miss the vending machines in Japan where you can buy drinks and the
Yeah.
Japanese tea, and then we have a local little corner shop with yeah, owned by I think he's from Hong Kong, but he does import
Mm,
drinks from Southeast Asia and also Japan and China and Taiwan. And then when I need to fix up my Japanese cold drinks, we would go there, and I have to tell my partner sometimes, no, I want that one. That's the Japanese one.
yeah,
And then you see, no, that's got Chinese writing on it, so that's probably from Taiwan.
yeah,
Go for the
yeah,
Japanese one because they are usually unsweetened. They think proper green tea.
right. No, it's interesting you mentioned that because part of the marketing mix is also the place, right? The
Mm,
place
yeah.
where the product is sold. And
Mm,
in Japan, I think that Japan is also kind of unique in this sense of the word. Maybe Taiwan too, but they've got the vending machines
mm,
also. One of the places where they sell their products, especially the
mm,
drinks. But
yeah.
nowadays, I mean, I am sure you noticed some other vending machines. In some stations, train stations, you can find vending machines that sell flower bouquets, small
Mm,
ones, but still very pretty, fresh flowers of all
mhm.
things.
Yeah.
In some places, you can find vending machines that sell underwear items, right? So like T-shirts and well, everything else. I'm not
Mm,
details there. And you can find also vending machines that sell ramen
mm,
and not only coffee and not only drinks, right?
mm,
So it's really fascinating to see how Japan has this kind of unique feature. I know that many people don't want to call Japan unique because I mean, every country is unique in itself, right?
mm,
But I haven't seen the place, especially vending machines, right? The streets and the
mm.
stations in other countries.
No, very, very seldomly. And if you have a vending machine, you barely ever trust you're going to get the thing you purchased without banging on the
Yeah,
banging on the
yeah,
whole machine itself, because things tend to get stuck more in vending machines
yeah,
in the UK compared to in Japan, where I don't think anything's ever got stuck. I've always got what I purchased from the vending machine.
right. Yeah,
But it's interesting that there's still so many other things you can buy, because there are so many convenience stores open everywhere. But then
mm-hmm.
there's still a need for vending machines with underwear, or
Right, yes.
what else it might be that people
That,
buy from a
yeah,
vending machine. But
yeah,
perhaps that's also part of the fact that Japanese labor market is continuing to
right,
shrink, or that there's fewer people available to work.
yeah. You know,
Mm.
sometimes I wonder because vending machines here are so ubiquitous, right? They are
Mm,
everywhere, every 100 meters. Sometimes it's 200 meters, but you get a vending machine.
mm,
So I sometimes just wonder because that's a place, I mean, talking about the marketing mix, right?
mm,
But still, it's a place where the products are sold. But my question to you is maybe, or do you think that we can think of the vending machines as a channel as well?
mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Very often, people might go up to the machine thinking, "Oh, I want a cold tea, or I want a coffee, or something," and but then you can come up and you see something else there, some
Right.
strawberry flavored one thing or another, or something that looks a bit fascinating. And of course, I'm sure that you could easily sway someone to buy something else by the
Right.
vending machine. Or I think there are, I don't know how to what extent people put adverts also on the machines themselves, but they are from various companies, I believe, the vending machines per se.
Hmm.
Mm.
They are, yes.
Yeah. So definitely, it's a perhaps a channel that's almost unique to the UK. Oh, sorry, to
Right.
Japan.
To
Mm,
Japan, yeah.
mm,
Because sometimes I just think, okay, it's, it could be viewed from different perspectives, as, of course, as a channel and as a place. And once again, we're coming to this specific characteristic of the
mm.
Japanese market.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. And then, okay, so then my next question to you is, from your observations, once again, do you think that Japanese brands underestimate or overestimate their brand appeal overseas?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because I've recently seen, actually, in some of the makeup shop. I think there was a little section of Korean makeup all of a sudden that had appeared, which never had been there before. But
Hmm.
I wonder if Japanese brands sometimes are perhaps a bit more understated than they could be.
Yeah, because I can tell you, I use cosmetic products, Shiseido,
Mm,
and so whenever. I mean, in Japan, you can buy Shiseido anywhere,
Mm,
uh, even in drugstores of all
mm,
places, right?
yes.
uh, and vending machines as well. But the thing is, of course, when I go overseas, when I am at the airport and the duty
Mm,
free shops, I think that what you mentioned earlier, so the Japanese brands there are understated, and of course, the American, the French, the Italian brands are much more. They use much more vivid colors,
mm,
right? And the use of space is different there. So again, I mean, understatement is a big part of Japanese aesthetic,
mm,
it, right? Especially when they want to show something that is johin. What is the
yeah,
johin in
yes,
English, right?
a bit refined or sophisticated product.
Sophisticated,
Mm,
yes.
mm,
So then the understatement is there always. But again, from a Western perspective, that understatement, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't work to
no,
the advantage of
no,
the producer.
no. It might be seen as a bit bland, perhaps, in the
Hmm.
UK. I somehow think that the understated aesthetics of anything would appeal to the Scandinavian psyche, because
Right.
in Sweden, people it tends to be sort of less is more, and
Yeah,
it's tends to be neutral colors, and it sort of it does probably veer towards the bland almost. But I think the sort of association with sophisticated and not so garish colors or would appeal perhaps more to an audience in Scandinavia than in the UK.
right. And I think it's more or less the same in other parts of the world as well.
Mm,
And sometimes I even catch myself when I'm at those duty free shops. I catch myself that I am drawn to those bright red colors or bright yellow, right?
mm, yeah,
Even though
well,
I
mm,
am, yeah, I am a, let's say, faithful customer
yeah,
of my preferred Japanese brand,
mm,
you get drawn to the brighter colors. And
yes,
maybe
it's,
that's because I was born and raised in a different part of the world. But yeah, so
or it may well be that the eye and the is naturally drawn to brighter colors.
mhm,
Mm.
right,
But of course, certainly probably some cultural uh, sort of training, rather, or cultural having grown up in a certain color makes you
right.
uh, appreciate certain different things by nature compared to other things. Mm.
Yeah, I guess there is a lot to say there, but if we go into that direction, we'll
Mm. Well,
move the
not
topic.
too
Yes,
far away from marketing, which is where we started.
right, yes. And so recently you also went to the Osaka Expo
Hmm.
because you worked with a client, a
Yeah,
British client.
I went there as part of the Institute of Directors in the UK, and they have a Japan business group. So we went as part of a delegation from this. It was organized by the Japan business group, and we were 27, 28, 29 people, something like that, went together. Yes. Mm.
Right. So, what were your impressions of the expo? Because you are a marketer and you have
Mm.
experience in marketing. So, what are your impressions from the exhibition there in general, and maybe some of the pavilions as well?
Mm. Yes. Well, I don't. Perhaps it's better not to comment on individual pavilions per se, but it was it was very interesting as a spectacle to see to go and visit the expo. It was extraordinary, the whole construction. When you go there and you think, oh, this has all been this is all reclaimed land. There wasn't anything here. No, I believe all of it was from reclaimed land, and it was all built up and a functioning infrastructure and all these pavilions and all the people queuing to go in and visit expo. Uh, it was fascinating to see, and we were getting a little bit of VIP treatment, I will say, because it had all been very well organized by the Japan Business Group, two people in particular.
Mhm.
So we didn't have to queue. We were going to go into 4 different pavilions, and we had set times for when we were going to go to that. And then in between, like there was time to move a little bit between the pavilions and have lunch, etc., and all that. But it was very well organized, the whole thing. you
Okay.
you go in and you go to the pavilion, and if you were walking between, there were areas where you could be a bit in the shade. Uh, you could sit under cover and have your lunch. And looking at the all the different pavilions, we went to 4 different, one country, one industry, and 2 companies. So
Hmm.
all very different. And the fascinating thing was that they were all so different, these pavilion, and the message they were trying to put across. And you also felt have they had completely different briefs. It's quite different what you think you want to put across if you're a country pavilion compared to if you are perhaps an industry pavilion, and
Mm.
compared to if you are from 2 companies. And I think the ones we went to, they would appeal to very different target audiences. I think 1 or 2 of them would perhaps appeal more to a younger target audience,
Hmm.
and others would appeal to perhaps a much more uh, or even a very specific target audience. But I was also thinking a little bit about the whole spectacle as a World Expo per se, all the money and effort that goes into
Mm.
showcasing all your country, for instance, and how relevant this really is these days, because the world is
Okay.
so much smaller than it used to be. Yeah, I think a lot of Japanese people know much about the UK without needing to go to the UK pavilion at the expo, for instance.
Right.
And that's not making any judgment on the UK pavilion. I think it's just a matter of fact of the world being so much smaller and more open, and people know much more. When these World Expos first started, people
Mhm.
hadn't been anywhere else in the
Yeah.
world, so I think they had a very different purpose when they first
Yeah.
opened. But
Yeah.
having said that, I still think it seems to have been an interesting meeting place, and of course, it's an interesting place for a company to showcase what they're doing. Whether they meet their target audience, that's another thing. And I spoke to a friend in Osaka the other day who has gone to the expo very many times, and gone to different pavilions. And in the end, she sort of thought, well, I've been to so many pavilions, they're sort of, in a way, they're almost a bit similar. And what she enjoyed the most was to go and try the different types of food from
Okay.
different countries. So I think it depends a bit on your perception or what you
Yeah.
appreciate. But it was very interesting to have been there, and I did enjoy my day fully from start to finish being at the expo. But
At,
yeah,
yeah. At the same time, don't you think that it makes the job of marketers more difficult? And when I say it, by it I means that nowadays the general public is much better informed than they used to be 20 or 30 years ago. And
hmm
when I say general public, of course, I mean the end consumer, but it's true also when you work in B2B because, as you mentioned earlier, we work with people there.
hmm
And those people, they also belong to the general public, and
Yes.
they're also better informed about many other options. So, does it make the job of a marketer more difficult? What do you think?
Definitely. I think the audience tend to be quite critical in general. People perhaps look at messages with a critical mindset and believe any statement to be marketing, just any sort of blah de blah, almost just the usual marketing talk. So of course you have to be very clear on your messaging and know what you convey, and that you convey a message that you can stand for. And of course, the messaging, I believe, is slightly different also in B2B compared to B2C. But also the fact is that there is so much competing for everyone's attention.
Yes,
These days
that's
we have
a
all the social
oh,
media channels, which we didn't have 20 years ago. 25 years ago, people would still enjoy getting an email from a company. And of course, these days, there's so many emails that go straight into the spam folder and never get opened
yeah,
because we
right.
haven't got time to look at them all. So I think that's perhaps much as the even bigger challenge to how do you reach your target audience and
Right.
compete against all other companies trying to do exactly the same and reach for the attention span of the same person you want to reach.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more difficult.
Mm,
I, I agree. Yeah, very much so. But I also wonder that at some point, well, there will be a turning point when some people, not everybody, of course, but some people will just go back to long content, long
mm,
form.
mm,
I have noticed that in myself actually, because until last year, I was in school for 2 years, no, almost 3 years actually.
mm,
And then because of the lack of time and all the homework we had to do, I was very much focused on short content, short form content.
mm,
And then recently, what I noticed is that because I don't have that pressure anymore, I don't feel it. I am much more inclined to going back to paper books,
mm,
physical books. So I
mm,
don't buy any e-books anymore. I just buy the paperback or hardcover or so on, whatever is available out there.
mm.
And I wonder whether you have noticed anything like this, maybe with yourself or with your partner, with people you know. How is the trend there?
Well, I think in Sweden, I don't know if it was last year that certainly the sales of physical books did increase quite dramatically. So I think there's certainly a trend in
Mm-hmm.
certain ways that people want the physical thing again, not just digital. But whether that's a ongoing trend or just the odd year out, uh, I don't know yet. But I think there certainly could be a change because I think in a way all the social media and all the sort of instant gratification you might get from watching a cat video, but then you feel like, well, I've spent 20 minutes of my life watching, scrolling social media. What did I do that for? It's sort of I should have sat reading my book instead that I wanted to read, or looked at the paper, or had a conversation with a friend instead. So I do actually think that it may well change. And I for myself, for instance, I've almost stopped posting on Facebook. I just feel like I have absolutely no desire to tell people any longer where I go or what I do. But that's more my own personal feeling that why spend time on that?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you for this. And we are almost at the 1 hour mark. And this is the
Mm.
time when we say, Well, thank you to everybody who stayed with us and listened to us. And yes, thank you to you, Madeleine, because it has been such a interesting conversation.
Yeah,
It
thank
doesn't
you,
happen
Maya.
very often. Yes,
No,
I
it's sort of marketing in its widest meaning, perhaps.
yeah,
Mm.
I do hope that we will continue it in the future because
Mhm.
it's not finished. Of course, as you said,
So,
marketing is so much more than tactics
mhm.
and other specific things. So thank you very much again, and well, I wish you a good day, and also, well, let's do it again.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much, Maya. Thank you.
Thank you.